So let's take shelter of this literature, Srimad Bhagavatam, which is Krishna himself, which dispels the darkness of illusion, helps us to distinguish reality from illusion, and helps us align to Krishna's thoughts, Krishna's heart. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. So we stopped at this Rangini. Is a very interesting name. Rangini, expressing that the topic was quite philosophical, and Devahuti said that I also found some of that to be difficult, but the main message was clear. And then they start to discuss. I was thinking to do something like this today. One of us will read Devahuti, one of us will read Rangini, like that. So it will be interesting reading. Who wants to be Rangini?
Okay, I can be Rangini, no problem.
Okay, so who will be Devahuti?
I'll be.
Okay. So, okay, Rangini, start.
I'm just trying to make it big. Oh my god. Okay. Try like this. Oops. Sorry, screen is on. Bhakti Yoga. Okay. Bhakti Yoga as Rangini.
Exactly.
Said Devahuti, which especially means hearing about, glorifying, and remembering Krishna, added Rangini with a big smile. I had a question about that, said Shema. The Lord said that one should hear without duplicity. Duplicity, what does he mean? Yes, that made me think too, said Medha.
Did you understand? Devahuti asked Medha.
I believe he meant we should practice bhakti with full faith that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, said Medha.
I understood the same, said Devahuti. If we do not have such faith, it is not possible that our goal will be to love him. Sometimes so-called yogis pretend to be advanced in spiritual life merely to attract followers and wealth. I should think this is a form of duplicity.
Wow, beautiful. Shema added. And some yogis want to merge with God. Their practices must also be duplicitous. They continued discussing Kapila's instructions until darkness settled over the mansion. Retiring to their rooms, they rested for the night, their minds absorbed in what they had heard. It almost feels like, in the night, with the kids, they usually have that, what do you call night out, not night out, where all the kids, what is it?
Sleepover.
Yeah, sleepover, exactly. Like that only I'm thinking they all had this beautiful discussion as they're all going for a sleepover. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll just continue. Kapila's instruction and devotional yoga. Kapila describes the process of Ashtanga yoga, which culminates in relishing the supersoul in the heart, of whom he gives an elaborate description. The next day, soon after sunrise, the maidens set up seats for Devahuti and Kapila on the palace veranda, beneath the porch, inlaid with many printed panels depicting Krishna's pastimes. They also spread out cushions on the mosaic terrace for Devahuti's girlfriends, who with their mistress waited expectantly for Kapila's return. Not far off, they saw a group of Brahmins performing a fire sacrifice. Soon they saw Kapila approaching, a broad smile lighting up his face as he spotted them eagerly waiting to greet him. When they were all once more settled, Devahuti expressed her desire to understand more about how to visualize the absolute truth, which I can't see the last line.
Her
Which
son
her son
had her earlier mentioned.
Okay, next page, I guess, right?
We'll pause here. The painted panels depicting Krishna's pastimes. Did you paint them, Taruni Radha?
I was remembering my paintings when I saw that. When I read that, I was also thinking how Krishna conscious, right? How Krishna conscious. Like usually when we go to some people's house, they have like pictures of kids and family and all that, right? But look at the purity of their intent, the purity of their thought, right? Like how they're discussing in the previous page. No duplicity means they're thinking Krishna is the supreme goal. So even in their external surroundings, the way everything was also so conducive for their remembrance of Krishna.
Yeah, yeah. That's true. Sometimes we don't even think as devotees, we look in our house and we have Radha Madhava and Nrsimhadev and Panchatattva. And you're right. In many people's house, they have mm, pictures of their kids and family. Actually, I'm remembering Maharaj, what's his name? I forget his name. Parthasarathi Maharaj in South Africa. He's, he on his wall, he has like a place where he has this huge wall in the living room. In that wall, he has pictures of so many Vaishnavis and Vaishnavas, like devotees that he admires, living also, and those who have passed away also. And he has those pictures on that wall. I mean, it's like an amazing wall. And then every morning he wakes up and he actually comes there and he actually like looks at all these devotees and thanks Krishna for meeting them and like that. It's amazing way of mm, humility and gratitude for the Sangha Association of Vaishnavas, like that. Anyway, you said pictures, wall, families, and I was just thinking Patsati Maharaj has this unique way of celebrating Vaishnavas and glorifying and worshipping Vaishnavas. It's very impressive, actually. He doesn't just have sannyasis and proper disciples like that. He has different devotees that really inspire him and that he honors and respects, like that. Even Vaishnavis he has. Okay. Rajeshwari Radhika, are you there? If you like, you can continue reading. Okay. Okay. Taruni, would you like to continue reading? Or
Yeah, sure. Sure.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm
Kapila,
here.
yeah,
Okay.
she can go. Sorry, please go ahead, Mataji.
Kapila said, "My dear mother, I shall explain the process of Ashtanga Yoga, the aim of which is to concentrate the mind on Vishnu. Its limbs are Yam, Niyam, Asan, Pranayam, Pratyahar, Dharan, Dhyan, and Samadhi. By this practice, you will become joyful and make further progress towards realizing the absolute. Firstly, I will explain Yama and Niyama. Yama means the prescription and Niyama means prescribed duties. Let us start with the Niyamas. If one identifies with the material body, he must perform the social and occupational duties prescribed in scriptures and avoid doing other duties. One should be content with whatever comes without excessive work. He should find a self-realized spiritual master, surrender to and inquire from him about spiritual knowledge and practices. One should only engage in religious practice which lead to self realization and not those aimed at material progress. Also, one must eat frugally and live in a secluded place free from disturbance. Now I will explain yama. This include non-violence, truthfulness, refraining from stealing, accepting.
Okay. We'll pause here.
Okay.
This point, I don't know why I marked it and then it went away.
Just in the morning, you're talking about this, right? I was like, wow.
I know. I'm thinking the same thing here. It says that you should perform social and occupational duties prescribed in scripture and avoid doing others' duties. I actually would like a thoughts of you guys on this. What do you think? What does it mean in your personal life, doing others' duties? How do you determine if paying your bills and paying internet and uh, earning for the family? Is it whose duty is it? Right then.
We have our psychophysical nature. Like I have kids. I mean, cooking, taking care of their needs, cleaning. I mean, all these are like the duties which are like these are like prescribed duties, I would say. But beyond all this, like we have the paradharma, which is, our promise to our guru, doing our sadhana, right? And we are not. It's just not out of duty that we are doing. It's also, I mean, after so many years, it's just not duty. It's we want to keep the promise that is there, but beyond that, out of love, right? We want to do it. So I would say that that is also there. That's also acts. I mean, acts out very much in my life, and yeah, that's very very important. Without that, I would just feel, and all these duties are like, I would not dismiss this completely because these duties are given for this particular psychophysical nature of mine. Why? Because of for purification. The intention of all of this is purification. Realizing that, because I've desired it, I'm in this particular situation, but then going through it, there is so much of hardship, right? Then we become very purified and we'll realize that what should be our pure intention and desires in the future, right? In the past, there were certain desires because of which Krishna is fulfilled. This is where I am now. At least going through this purification, my desires will become more refined. Actually, that's the goal. That's the way it's been designed. That's why. Otherwise, just imagine if people are just performing any other person's duties, right? Then there'll be chaos in the society, and that's the reason why we have that varnashram thing that Prabhupada always wanted to be set up. It's not that we need that we need varnashrams to become Krishna conscious or achieve the goal of life. It's not required, but what to do? Society is like that. Not everybody's like wanting to take that elevator of bhakti yoga and practice it. So for all the other class of people, it is required. And even in devotees' life, everybody is not taking up to bhakti completely and leaving, into that pure bhakti platform immediately, right? So varnashram duty or doing our prescribed duty is very much necessary. It's a grounding. It's very much grounding, and it will help us to navigate through life for this purification and ultimately realizing the goal. That is what Prabhupada's intention was. That's why when he was leaving, he said, my other half of the thing of like my other half of what I really envision to establish Varnashram in this world is not complete, like that Prabhupada said, but doesn't mean that that was the goal. Everybody knew. So he just gave what is really important, but then he realized everybody's life is chaotic, so this has to be done. But even today, it's not done as such, right? So that's what I would think. And also when it comes to like doing others' duty, like say for example, somebody is very Brahminical in nature. They like to read, they like to preach. It's very natural to them, so they should just do that. But somebody is like for them reading and preaching. It's for somebody that's their nature. So just do that. For somebody, it might just be like they like to just make cooking, or somebody is like they're not much into social interaction. They like to just do deity worship, like that's very internal for them, and that's where their absorption is. Then just do that. Somebody likes to just they do some administration in the temple, then that's where they have that kshatriya kind of administrative nature to just organize and festivals and all that, and then just do that. I see so many of all these qualities. You have nature of nature. Your nature is like all of this is just part of you. So you're like you have the nature of all these different activities. Very natural for you, right? So you're just doing it. So it's not like you're doing somebody else's duty because it's natural. And one more thing about this natural thing is that swabhava is when we are doing something which is very natural, right? There is no stress. So it's very easy for us to connect our swabhava with the fact with a pure intention that let's do this to please Krishna. Imagine you're doing something which is very difficult. Like say, I'm not a dentist, but if I have to do somebody's like a dentist job, I don't even know. I'll be so much under stress. What am I doing like that, right? In that stress, how can I dedicate that work to the Lord? But say, for example, I like to like say dishwash, washing the pots or something. I mean, for me, it's very easy. So when I'm doing it, I can align my thoughts can be because I'm very relaxed. It's very natural to me. I'm doing it. I can say that this I'm doing it for the Lord's pleasure. I'm trying to keep His house clean like that. So it's very easy. But when we are doing somebody else's duties, right, there is an added stress and it's unnatural for us. And then we feel there's a lot of discomfort. And then obviously that authenticity also will come in into play. Wherein I don't feel very satisfied with it. Despite going through the trouble, the pains and everything, I'll feel very dissatisfied. Yeah. And also in the
Nice.
Gita, thinking in the Gita also, right? And that I think in the 5th chapter end, it also talks about doing another's duty perfectly. Also, Krishna is not very happy. You might try, we might be so good. Let's say we're not good at like organizing festivals, say, and then we try our best. We go do everything is perfect, but that's not our nature. I might be just doing it so that people will pat my back or something like that. So with that kind of intention, I'm doing this whole thing so well. Oh my God, so well. But is Krishna pleased? He's not pleased because that's not my nature. I'm doing this to get something else. That's not pure. So that's what's coming to my mind too.
Yeah, very, very nice points. Maybe I just want to add that Prabhupada used to say there are situations when we need to do some service that may not be exactly our nature, such as um, cleaning the temple or washing the pots, which may not be so much our nature. We may be more Sankirtan devotees or whatever. And then maybe during lockdown time, there was not so much Sankirtan you could do. And you had to stay in the temple. And like I know one of my close friends, she lives in the temple, and oh my God, lockdown time, her life completely changed. She's a preacher. She goes and does university preaching and all this. And then during lockdown time, she had to cook for the deities and she had to do pujari service. And it was like a huge shift for her. And she learned it and everything. And it's not really her nature, but actually it was necessary. So there is something like apadharma, or there are situations where something is required, like you were saying about, let's say somebody is sick and very sick, etc. It may not be our nature, we may not be nurses or doctors, etc. But if somebody is dying, we do go and help, right? That's kind of apadharma situation. And some other times we may live in a temple or a community where certain services required, certain services nobody comes forward sometimes, like some leadership jobs, or they may not come forward, and it becomes somewhat of a duty. So I was thinking there are there are levels of duties, like on this basic bodily level, we have a duty towards ourselves, to take care of our health, to take care of our hygiene, to take care of our food, and do our sadhana. That's like a basic level, right? Then there is the next level is like take care of the family, and that could mean so many things. We can't just sit and say, oh, my husband is supposed to do these things, why should I do it? But sometimes we know, right, so many women end up doing so many duties that in one sense what the society expects the man to do. But who is the judge? Who is the judge who says that this is the duty of the husband and you have to do it, this is the duty of wife? In today's times there are stay-at-home dads and women who go to work. If that works for them, fine, right? Like you were saying, maybe it's the nature of the man to actually stay at home and cook and wash and clean and take care of the kids. Maybe the nature of the woman is like she's more kshatriya like, and she has this capacity to run a company, and so she goes out and works. So it's a very how do you call it? It's a very broad concept of occupational duties, which also can depend on the time, place, circumstance. And I think in Kali Yuga, like we read yesterday, Kala Shudra Sambhava, right? You were saying about that in Kali Yuga, everybody's Shudras because we are not so qualified to belong in the Brahman Kshatriya categories purely because it was not like Garbhadhan Sanskar was not done according to the people who like Brahmanas do it in that particular Brahmanical way to conceive a Brahmanical child. Kshatriyas do it in a Kshatriya way, right? They used to, we read in the Gita, I mean, we read in the Bhagavatam, they do yakyas and whatnot to invite the child who's also fiery, and they call them demigods, they call the great sages around. Like I'm thinking of Drupada, and he wanted to have Drishtadyumna and Draupadi. He went through so much austerities to be able to invoke that kind of benediction to have children like that. And Brahmanas did their own kind of austerities and chanting to invite a child that will be beneficial for their lineage, and so on and so forth. But in today's age and situation, we are not able to do that kind of thing. So obviously the potency of the souls may not be so clear about their varna. But anyway, what matters is their consciousness, right? What matters is that they're devotees, whether they are kshatriyas or vaishyas or shudras. I have seen my servants. I have servants here in Mayapur. They're shudras, obviously, but they're really good shudras. Meaning, sometimes we say, shudras. We look upon shudras as something lower, right? But actually, I have learned from seeing them that you can be a very high class shudra. And these people are they're happy under the protection, they are satisfied, they're what my husband and I, we call them superstars. Like you don't have to tell them do this, do that. There's high class servants which they're able to understand the needs of the master, wish well for the master, and do things with their own intelligence. So we were thinking how it's better to be a good shudra than to be a bad vaishya or a bad kshatriya. And like that. So, okay, I was saying there is a duty on the family level to do what is required to keep the family together, to keep the family running, like that, without fighting that, hey, it's your duty. You're supposed to go and do the shopping. You're supposed to pay the bills. We can get into that, right? Instead, we just say this is needed. And it's a my husband doesn't want to do it. Sometimes maybe the husband is a loser and he doesn't want to work, he doesn't have a job, he gets kicked out from jobs every now and then, or he's not capable, or maybe he's sick, or maybe he's not his nature, maybe he's stubborn. We don't know. I'm just saying circumstances, right? I mean, I'm just thinking of myself. I do many things that is like husband duties. I myself manage many things myself. So I have been for many years. Although like Prabhu is very senior, etc. And in our case, it's because he's so much into preaching and he's so into those things that I had to learn the ways of the world, material things. I had to learn to manage it. Definitely is not my nature. I rather study and teach, and that's really my nature. And also organizing parikrams or going around, not so much my nature, but the part of me giving that spiritual knowledge is so exciting that I take on the other organizational things sometimes. During ILS also, it fell on me, like suddenly I had this whole Vaishnavi retreat Sangha, because the Vaishnavi ministry minister Mataji got sick. And I had to rush her to the hospital, and I was attending her in the hospital. And at the same time, I had to run this show, which was like a whole international Vaishnavi festival here in Mayapur. So many logistics, and it's not my nature. I have never organized such a big event, and everything just fell on me. And I could see that, even though it's not my nature, And it was not my duty until the day that I saw her in the hospital, and we had already distributed the brochures and pamphlets and everything, and we had to like pull it through. And then it suddenly became my duty in the last hour. I had only 2 days, 2.5 days to organize everything, the location and the chairs and the food and the everything. It was like a crazy thing, and MC the whole event and deal with the guests. And it was like, wow, how was I able to do it? Krishna empowered me. So sometimes there are situations where we may be pushed or called upon to do some things which may not be our duty.
Mm.
um, and avoiding doing others duty, it needs to be, again, we can avoid in sattvagun, rajogun, tamagun, right? In tamagun, we can just, I could just tell the mataji, oh, you're sick. It's not my duty, it's your duty. If you don't do it, then cancel it. What am I supposed to do? But it was like, it's a kind of staring at me, it's in front of me. And I'm like, oh my god, I was just supposed to give her translation service, some assistance. I never thought it'll all fall on my head like that. But then Krishna empowers, right? I can't just say I'll avoid another person's duty. And it happens at home also sometimes. Like, it's not my duty to do this or something. But who's to say, right? What is our duty, what is not? Sometimes our duty is to make sure that we are in together, we are together, happy, like bodily we are together, I'm together, as a family we are together, whatever it takes, right? It becomes a duty to keep the family together. That's the duty, and then whatever it takes. And then the next level is we have a duty towards the society, right? We have a If we live in a devotional community, somebody cannot come to do deity service that day, and you have to fill up for them. We don't say it's not my duty. We step forward and take care. And then we have a duty to the country, right? We have the duty to the organization, ISKCON. Like that, we have um, microcosmic duties, such as cut your nails and comb your hair. And then we have macrocosmic duties, such as being part of Sankirtan mission and paying back to our acharyas for saving our, you know what. So,
Yeah, yeah, so beautiful. In the what you're talking about is like this emergency duty. One is that nitya seva, something like that. Seva it is called. Nitya dharma is like that brushing the teeth and all that. And then the other one, the prescribed duty is like what we're doing every single day. But these are like the emergency duties which just come up, but which cannot be avoided because you're thinking about the higher goal, right? Like picking up that whole that event thing, it was like an emergency duty. You wanted to do it to please everybody, right? All the Vaishnavis and the guru, everybody. So that was like an emergency duty, but you did it in such a nice way, and then Krishna also empowered you. But that doesn't happen all the time, right? These are like emergency duties which should not be avoided, actually, like how you said, how beautifully you said, in the family also, right? When something happens, the higher goal is what? It's not just about bifurcating husband's duty, wife's duty. The whole thing is like let's be together to keep and keep Krishna in the center and keep doing bhakti. That's the thing, right? So beautiful. Correct. That's
and
the higher
actually, I want to add to the whole thing I said. You reminded me. The problem today is that we are all on apadharma call. Most of the things we are doing is emergency duties. We are not actually absorbed. I'm just saying, as a civilization, as a humanity, currently 2023, most people are doing jobs that is not their nature. They're doing jobs because they need money for the family. Most people are not living their purpose. They're not fully utilizing their potential. Most people are just doing apadharma. Everybody is trying to be engaged in that shows the imbalance of this concept. We're not actually doing the duties that is according to our nature. You can go around, ask people in corporate jobs, ask people, are you happy with your, do you feel your potential is fulfilled? Do you feel absorption and contentment in your job. Everybody's fried. Everybody is, what do you call it? It's called, what is it called? Like when they have these breakdowns, mm, something it's called. A lot of people are going through that breakdowns. No, they can't do it anymore. They're just collapsing. Because how long, like if I have to be a event organizer, how long I can go on? I can't. So many conflicts, so many issues. It's not my nature to fight and deal with all these things. But if I keep doing it on a long term basis, I collapse.
Burnt out.
Burnt out. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. A lot of people are having that experience, especially women, because again, it's not our nature to be in this competitive world, do this and that. Sometimes, not for all women, most women, it's not. Most women like to just be taken care, right? But what to do if there's no guy to take care, and if the guy is a loser, then you have to fend for yourself. So all these situations are going on, which creates obstacles for harmony, like that. Then it says here, you see, it's very connected, right? One should be content with whatever comes without excessive work. I found another purport also where Prabhupada actually says this point very beautifully. He says, the amount of enjoyment you are supposed to experience is fixed. Whether you work bigger job, live in a bigger city, or you live in a village, the karma of how much you enjoy life is fixed. You may just stress yourself more, work harder and all that, but the karma, what kind of family life you'll have, what kind of enjoyment in the sense of relaxation you'll have, these are all karmic things. It's fixed. And I can attest to that as an astrologer. It is like that. Whether you live in New York in some little apartment and have some prestigious job, and you're stuck with that little apartment, or you live in a village and you live in this huge farmhouse and everything, and with animals, etc., and the experience of enjoyment is the same. And I find it interesting that sometimes we mess up our karma more. People actually are not content with whatever is coming without much effort, and they're putting so much effort, and they're going and staying in the cities. Like I know some people from here, from Bengal, they go from Bangladesh, they go and live in Dubai, and those kind of Middle East countries, which is like super duper hot. And then they have these little, we went for some preaching program, and these people here, in Bangladesh and Bengal, they have lands, they have farm places, right? And they actually sell all that, and then with that little money they go to Dubai, and they go and work their like tedious jobs and construction and all that, which like nobody wants to do it because it's so hot there, like 50 degrees, burning hot. And these people live in like my bathroom, my bathroom is the space that they were sharing, 4 people a room. I remember when we went there for preaching. These are all men living there, sharing accommodations. Of course, their saving grace is they became devotees there, so that was worth it. other than that, it's such austere living conditions. In one sense, you can say most people are doing this because they're not content with whatever comes without excessive work. Of course, the whole world is so topsy-turvy, as Tarunira was describing about Varnashram not being established or whatever. We think that Varnashram means farming communities. It's not. Varnashram is like so much broader than that. And some people think that women don't belong in Varnashram. They think that women are out of Varnashram. That is so ridiculous. Anyway, there are all these topics which needs to be harmonized, which needs to be balanced. But my point is, it's not easy to be content with what comes without excessive work. We tend to overachieve, over endeavor, and at the end, we only experience what we're supposed to experience anyway. This is so. Yeah. Any comments?
Yeah, but no, I was just referring Varnashram system to farm communities. It's beyond that. Yeah, it's beyond like, having a proper Brahminical culture, proper administrators, proper Vaishyas who will be doing the farming thing, and then others who will be helping in each of these other 3 Varnas. So that's what Prabhupada was wanting, not just the farm communities. That's there. And as you
Yeah.
said, when all of them are there, obviously women and men, both man and woman will be fitting into all these four buckets, right? And then that
Yeah,
also next,
you'll be
masculine will be able
surprised.
to do.
You'll be surprised that there's a whole huge group of people within our organization. They are saying that no, women are not in the they don't have a varna. Women don't have varna.
Really? Wow, that's different. I
Yeah,
never heard that.
there's a whole
Never heard
debate
that.
about it.
Oh, wow.
They say that no, women don't have any varna. She takes on to the husband's varna and that's it. And then we have so many examples in the shastra, in history, right? Like why the
Devahuti
man doesn't.
herself. Devahuti herself. See, she's from a Kshatriya background. She gets married to a Brahmana, right? Of course, the marriage is accepted because Brahmana is higher than the Kshatriyas. But in our own discussion, it's different, right?
And she still has that nature, right? It's not that she became Brahminical. All her, mm,
She's so refined.
everything. I mean, look,
She's
she
very
lives in, even now after the husband left, she lives opulently and all. That's not Brahminical. A Brahminical woman would have just gone into the forest, right?
Yeah, she never takes it. That's what I'm trying to say. Like she just maintained it. I mean, she had it and then she continued. And then, during the time when she was initially married to Kartama Muni, right? Even though she came from that kind of a background, she never cared about her body. She kept serving him. Then for so many years, that's when he'll say, like, oh my God, you've served me so much. Now, what is it that you want? Then everything will become opulent again and he will again join her. After he goes also again, she goes through this entire thing. She's living in the palace. But in that last stage, right, she gives up everything. And then she ultimately attains the goal of life. In that last stage, she doesn't even care about whatever her dressing and everything. She just gives up. I think it happens naturally. But then my point was like it even in our own scripture, not both of them are not brahmanas, right? They're not both kshatriyas. Like that differences are there. Then how can we say that women will just take on to the nature of the husband? That's so different. I mean, that's not at all
No,
a
it's not
valid.
very logical. It's not
Yeah,
very
it's not
logical. I
yeah,
mean,
everybody
even
was
in
told, right?
modern days, this people may marry royal family, but that they don't definitely become. And there are men who marry women who are what's that lady's name, the queen. Now she married a commoner and then he became royal because he married her, right? There are so many cases in the world where sometimes the man takes to the varna of the woman, socially speaking. He is coming from a common background and he marries some royal lady and then he becomes royal, right? So socially speaking, it may be true to some extent, but in nature wise, you can't change that nature. If you're kshatriya, you'll remain kshatriya. In like Arjuna wanting to go to the forest, and retire. And Krishna said, you will go in the forest and create your own kingdom there. You're not going to just sit quiet. You'll start protecting the animals. You'll start protecting the rishis, and that's his nature. He's not going to give that up.
Mhm.
I'm thinking of lockdown time for me. Because before lockdown, I used to travel a lot and all. So during lockdown, it's still my nature, right? I had internet, I started groups, I started preaching, teaching, so that will continue. It's not going to stop just because I can't travel. So like that. Okay. So we can pause here for today and resume tomorrow. And keep contemplating these topics about your duties, maybe journal about it today. What are your duties and how much of your actual nature and potential are you accomplishing, achieving, and how much apadharma are you just doing right now because you need to do it? And think about if you are content with the life that you have, or are you without excessive work, are you trying to be happy or not? These are the questions for today. Until then, take care. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Yeah.
Gaura
You know,
Bhakta Vrinda ki jai.
sorry, I want to just share one last line. Okay?
Yeah.
Just remember this she was saying, since
I
I have
can't hear you
found
clearly. There's
I don't know
some
somebody
disturbance.
Not mine. Not mine. Somebody else is still.
Okay, now.
Yeah. Since I found you and I'm doing devotion service to you, Krishna, all these other duties that I always had, now I'm just just washing my hand off all of them, because now my 3 times Gayatri, all that I've given up, I'm just giving up because now I'm doing devotion service. So just all these things that we're contemplating also at one point, right? It just becomes the paradharma, which is devotion
Yeah.
service to Krishna, which is the highest, right? So just wanted to just bring that point out. Thank
So
you.
beautiful. Yeah. And also the opposite, right? When you become a devotee, everything you're doing becomes service to Krishna. You serving your kids, you taking your kid to swimming classes, everything becomes devotional service. It's not anymore material duties. When we become devotees, if we offer that to Krishna, he takes it. And sometimes we don't need to worry about, should I do service or should I take care of my family? Taking care of family whose devotees becomes service. So it's so beautiful, this kind of connection.
Right. Very nice. Correct. Beautiful.
Thank you. Jai.